Hey guys, terrible camera, terrible lighting, haven't done my makeup, you'll get over it. Scotty Z. Musing, thinking a lot and reading a lot and watching a lot and trying to figure out what is the next push here. You know that when coronavirus was declared back in March in Australia, the first thing that I did is launched Permacare, a local initiative to bring community together. I think I got that little hair sticking up. And I'm doing the same thing right now again with this push. I live in Russia. I am 1,500 kilometers away from where people are being bombed right now. My land where we're building our eco-village, we had neighbors here, we'll be moving there in a few months, is only 1,100 kilometers away. That's from Sydney to Brisbane, that close, right? And we're talking about rockets that can go 5,000 kilometers. So this is in my neighborhood. I'm sitting in the Russian sauna last night talking with my Russian neighbor in Russian about Putin and this agenda after yesterday having watched 4 hours of Oliver Stone's interviews with Putin. I'll put the link in the comments of Putin actually talking about, in his own words, it was released in 2019, what is going on, right? And I'll share another link I just shared it a moment ago with Putin. He's done 2 big addresses here in the last week to the Russian people. You can't find it on YouTube. You can't find it in the Western media. All they do is take out little 10-second, 30-second, 1-minute snippets from his speeches. Why don't you go and listen to the man? Why don't you go and have a listen to what this man is saying about the West's interference, not only in Ukraine, but throughout Iraq, what they did in Iraq, Syria, Libya, what's been pushing, the coup they had in Georgia, the coup they had in 2014 and in 2004 in Ukraine, right? There is a push here from the warmongers in that we call it the deep state, right? We're not blaming the US people. I lived in the United States. A lot of my friends are from the States. Obviously, it's not the American people. And a lot of times it's not even, some people don't even realize that are in there talking that there is an agenda, a bureaucracy underneath the deep state that is driving this. They are warmongers. They want war. That is what they're pushing for. War, they create order through chaos. There is absolute chaos sitting on the doorstep of Europe right now. And Russia has been made to be the enemy. We have to open our eyes. And for everyone that's like, oh, Russia's the enemy in Ukraine, poor Ukrainians. What about the poor Russians? What about the Russian soldiers that are in there doing what they have to do to defend their homeland? And if you're only watching the one-sided media and you haven't realized that they lied to you the whole way about COVID, they lied to you about the coronavirus. The government's lying to you. But the same thing is happening with this war where Putin's going in and he's saying, listen to his words. He's saying 2 things. Stop pushing NATO to our borders. Stop putting missiles on our border. You've already declared us, Russia, as the enemy. Why are you putting now more and more rockets and missiles on our borders? It's like Russia going to, and they had that with the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? Where Russia actually pulled out their missiles from Cuba. If you look at recent history, it wasn't Russia back then, it was USSR. But same thing, America's like, whoa, that's not going to happen. Imagine if Russia started putting weapon systems on the border of the United States. Now, Russia has never declared the United States as an enemy like the United States has declared Russia. If you go and listen to Putin's words in that interview, he's talking about and saying, what is going on? Why do you keep pushing aggressively towards us with the NATO expansions? So his only 2 things is Ukraine can't be part of NATO. You cannot put weapon systems in that strategic location against us. That's number 1. And second, if you have a look at what happened in the 2014 coup with Ukraine, the Americans, there's John McCain is standing on stage with a terrorist leader, with the right sector, one of the neo-Nazi leaders in Ukraine, and saying, oh, we want your, what was it, about your democracy in Ukraine and yada, yada. John McCain is standing there. When that happened, who was the vice president? Biden was the vice president. There is leaked tape of American diplomats talking about which politician they're going to install as the president of Ukraine. They're talking about the coup openly. Well, it was on a recorded phone call. There's evidence to show that the US staged a coup to put their puppet people in so that Biden's son, Kerry's son, Pelosi's son can have high-level contracts in Ukraine. Guys, stop watching the media. Putin doesn't want to take back Ukraine. He doesn't want to occupy Ukraine. He's said that over and over again. He's been telling them for years, stop expanding NATO. For months now, he's been saying, just stop. Ukraine is a no-go. You cannot put Ukraine in NATO. And Biden has been saying, nah, you can't tell us what to do, right? And now they're saying you can't attack a sovereign state. What do you think America's done in Iraq? What do you think America's done in Syria and Libya? They've gone and attacked. Oh, it's for terrorism. We've got to stop terrorism. What a load of shit. What a load of shit. The absolute hypocrisy out of the United States. But guys, don't take my word for it. Go and read, go and listen. And you've got to go even beyond the American-backed alternative media. That's a problem that we have here in Russia, is my wife listens to this alternative media thinking it's actually unbiased and alternative, whereas if you go and trace where their money's coming from, it's coming from NGOs that are giving money from America. They're being pushed to say, oh, here's the true story. Russian media is all state-backed and they're telling you what they want. And maybe they are. Maybe there is propagandizing. I'm not saying that Putin is a saint here, but I'm saying he doesn't want this war. He didn't start this war. And this alternative media pushed by the Americans, and again, the Americans, the deep state, right, the Satanists, the globalists who are trying to control us all, they're pushing money into this alternative media and they back the coup in Ukraine that puts us where we are today. Conveniently, when COVID is starting to unravel, and most people are going, this is pretty bullshit. UK's pulled back all restrictions, no vaccine passports, no masks. You know, poor Australia and New Zealand are getting smashed still. But guys, it's unraveling. The freedom convoys in Australia and Canada, what happened in Canada, in America. Conveniently, now there's a war, right? Conveniently now, then what happened with Putin internally that it got to the point where he's like, we got to denazify. That's what he's saying. We need to denazify, get the neo-Nazis who the Americans put into power in Ukraine out of power, because they've been shelling and killing. They've killed 15,000 civilians in the Donbass, which is the region that borders Russia. After, in the 2014 coup, those people said, whoa, in Crimea, they said, we don't want to be part of it. Donbass said, we don't want to be part of it. Right? Then they've been killing, the Ukrainian Nazis have been killing 15,000 civilians have died in the Donbass. And finally, Russia's like, and there's a guy, Patrick Lancaster. Go and search Patrick Lancaster on YouTube. I'll try and find a link to put in the comments as well. This guy is an American I think it was Navy, in the Donbass region, filming and showing what the Ukrainian army, which is backed again by these neo-Nazis who are controlling, it's the regime that America put in, what they're doing, killing civilians in Ukraine. And the mainstream media saying, oh, Putin got more than he bargained for in Kiev, the Ukrainians are fighting back. Putin's telling his soldiers, do not harm the civilians. And if you go and have a look at what's actually going down on the ground there, the Ukrainians, the military, again, it's the Nazi, neo-Nazi regime that is controlling it, is hiding inside civilian areas. Like they're setting up inside residential buildings. And so as, you know, the Russian soldiers are going in and going, well, what do we do? Like there's civilians, but they're shooting at us. Guys, look deeper. It's not that Putin could throw so much arsenal at Ukraine. If he wanted to, in the first 3 days, Ukraine could be flattened. All the cities could be flattened, right? The military might of Russia is huge. To say that, oh, the Ukrainians are pushing back Russia, what a load of bullshit. Russia just doesn't want to hurt people. He wants to demilitarize, meaning all of the billions and hundreds of billions of dollars that the US and now other EU nations or NATO nations are pushing into Ukraine. Get them out. Take your rockets off our doorstep and denazify. Your 2014 coup, where you backed these terrorists and put them into power, the US, is gone because the US is using Ukraine to push Russia, which is where Russia's been pushed against the wall. If you pick a fight with somebody long enough, hey, that person is eventually going to have to react. And that's exactly what Putin has done now. He's had to react. Guys, don't take my word for it. Do your research. This means a lot to me because I live here in Russia. And here's the funniest thing. My wife does not agree with me. My wife does not agree with me. My wife has been listening to, and look, she's got her perspective. I've got my perspective. Who knows what is right? I made a video about that 2 days ago, right? Or yesterday. Who knows what the actual truth is? But the further I go deeper and deeper into this, I'm seeing that this alternative media that my wife is watching has been backed by US dollars to destabilize Russia. Russia is saying no to the globalist push. No, 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 no. We're cool. We don't need your bullshit, right? Listen to Putin's latest speech. I just shared it. Go and click my name, Scotty Z, and go and have a look at my profile. You'll find that latest speech. 30 minutes of Putin addressing the nation. Where did you see it? This is wartime, right? And you're not even being shown why. You're being taken snippets and being told by the puppets of media who are controlled by the deep state. They're telling you what they want you to hear. Guys, I know most of my audience is already awake to this, but some of you guys are still buying into the lies that you're being told. Think critically. Have a look at what the US is doing. For the US now to say, it's a complete hypocrisy for them to say, you are attacking a sovereign state. What have they been doing the whole time? America has been invading sovereign states. Not even, fuck that. They've been invading sovereign states. Iraq, Libya, Syria, the most recent ones. They created the refugee crisis that's pushing into the EU. America created that. Afghanistan, they just pulled out after Afghanistan. Guys, the US are the warmongers. Name a country that Putin has gone and invaded. He's been in power, including the Prime Minister when he was there for 4 years, but for 20 years. Why? Because he's very good at what he's done. He took the Russian economy after the collapse of the USSR with all its debt. He had massive international debt, plus all of the USSR states. They've paid it off. Russia's debt is 13% of their GDP. 13%. Plus they have their net creditors. They have $600 billion in the bank in reserves. Guys, the US, I don't even know what it is. Before the pandemic, it was at 100% GDP. 100%. Russia's is at 13%. Russia is not taking the globalist bankers' money. And they want Russia. They want to crush Russia for doing it. Russia is not part of that, as far as I can see. Again, who knows how deep this goes and how far it goes. Maybe they're all having cups of tea at the end of the day. But if you have a look on the actual stage of what's going on, 13% debt. The globalist bankers, they don't want 13%. They want 300%, which is possibly, if someone could quickly search that, I might do it myself. What is the debt ratio to GDP, gross domestic product, how much they actually produce in a year? What is it was 100% pre-pandemic. Now all the money printing in the West and what's happened there, how much of that banker's money have they had to take on, that banker's debt? Because the money isn't real. It's all fictionally created debt. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. Russia doesn't have that. 13%, maybe give or take a little bit, right? 13% of their GDP is debt to the bankers. They are not in the bankers' pocket. They're running their country. Putin has run this country from literal bankrupt. He took over in 2000, literal bankrupt with the collapse of the USSR, to now they have massive reserves. They have, in equivalent to you and I living, they have 6 months of income in the bank, right? 6 months of income in the bank, plus only 13% debt. That's like having a little credit card, right? They are living responsibly versus the West. What's the West doing? 100, 200, how many times percent, I don't know now after the COVID, right? Massive debt, massive irresponsibility. And have a look at this. The other thing that I just learned, the US defense budget, not defense, it's about offense, is 10 times that of Russia. 10 times. Whereas Russia's putting money into actually trying to build the country, the US is putting money into building weaponry. The US spends more money on weapons than every other country in the world combined. Do you know that NATO, who really is on the edge of Russia now, spends 20 times the budget that Russia spends on military? 20 times. And yet Russia's here going, man, we're not going to be pushed around. Our culture is not going to be destroyed. You're not going to crush us with your crazy ideas that you're pushing into your societies about choose your own gender. Doesn't matter. Hey, kids, choose your own gender. You know, and look, if you want to be gay, but don't try and teach a 6-year-old that they can change their gender. That's not cool. And that's what Putin's saying. Don't push your ideologies here, right? That's just one example. That's one that pisses me off most. But he is saying we have traditional values here, and they really do. Like, I've been living here. This is my second time living here. I've been here for 2 years, right? This is my dinner table. We speak Russian at my dinner table, okay? And I'm an Aussie, right? But this is the culture. They are traditional culture, family values. That's what they're based on. That is being completely eroded in the West. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here because I've got a training to do in 5 minutes' time. If this resonates with you, I've started a Telegram channel, Awaken Freedom. I put it in the description. Click the Telegram because there's stuff that I need to share and say that is just not allowed to be said on these platforms because they'll deplatform me, right? They'll kick me out of Facebook. And I would prefer to be able to say what I need to say here. And then in Telegram, I can say more things, okay? So join the Telegram. Share this with anyone that resonates. Let me know any links in the description of stuff that you've... And tell me if you think I'm full of shit because obviously there's going to be people out there. And this ain't my first rodeo, ladies and gents. When I launched Permacare, do you know how much crap I copped? You know how much I had police, I had government, I had locals showing up and telling me I'm a cult leader because I wanted to grow food and build community. So if you got any shit to sling at me, sling it now. Bring it on. Because what I'm doing is I'm educating myself beyond just what the narrative is trying to tell me. And I'm spending my days figuring out where I stand in all of this so that I can help other people figure it out for themselves too. Right? I have the luxury of being able to work when I want, how I want to do it. Some people have got to go to work for 10 hours a day, plus be with their families and kids. I got to work too. Don't worry about that. I'm working my butt off every as well. But I want to make sure that I'm on the right side of history and that I'm making a difference for this awakening because we are in a massive awakening. And this is the death throes of the globalists. You know it, I know it, and they know it. And the only thing they can do is keep fighting us and getting us to fight one another so that they can take more and more control. Yes, I'm fired up about this because the lies are being believed. And please, if you're listening to my words, do not believe their lies. Do your own research. Look at what is actually happening. Stop just playing along in their narrative, in their game, and thinking that it's real because it's not. They're heightening your anxiety and your fear. Oh, global threat. Why did Putin say he's escalating the nuclear response team here in Russia? Because Ukraine said they're going to put nuclear weapons there. They want to put nuclear weapon systems in Ukraine. And then all of a sudden Putin's like, well, if you're going to do that, we're going to do that too. You're going to sanction us, we're going to sanction you. We can't fly in the EU airspace, you can't fly in the Russian airspace. But who's starting it? Who's instigating it? Russia's been getting sanctions for so many years, they're just like, more sanctions? I can bring it on, right? You've been sanctioning us for doing nothing anyway, bring it on, right? Guys, they are pushing us into a war. Why? Because that's how they control us, through fear. They control us through fear. Don't buy into the fear. Look deeper into the story. There is more going on here. I love you so much. From my family to yours, guys, we're doing this together. We are doing this together. We are the solution. We are the awakening. But the first thing we need to do is turn our attention away from the lies and look towards what is true and what is real. Okay, and that's what I attempt to do. Awaken Freedom with Scotty Z, Telegram chat. Go and jump in there. I'll share a lot more. I want to hear your voice. Share this. Please share this because this is what makes a difference. Comments and likes push the algorithm. Sharing this gets it to more people. Guys, we are the future. We are the solution. I love you heaps. Join the Telegram and I'll see you soon. Cheers.